Good afternoon. My name is Mitch Robertson, and welcome back to my channel. I'm pretty excited about this topic, public-facing DNS servers, or your public-facing DNS, and why don't providers provide more intelligence to the end user? This is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I pay these companies to provide DNS services for me, and supposedly they're all working on the security of my DNS, but they really don't provide very much information back to me about what kind of queries might be going on. So I'm going to show you some examples and some things that you might want to be concerned about if your public DNS provider isn't providing you this kind of thing. So monitoring your external DNS, wouldn't it be good to know things like WPAD? If you saw WPAD, let's say your domain is domain.com, and that's your internal domain name. Well, that's publicly accessible, and hopefully you've got a DNS name for it on the outside where you could see this kind of thing, because maybe you have a website that's called www.domain.com, and you have people that want to get to that. Well, you've got laptops that are configured to join your domain and configured to talk to your domain, and you think, okay, great, I'm going to let those guys go, and they go outside and they have this WPAD thing. And I know I brought WPAD up in previous videos, but I really haven't talked about what WPAD does, and WPAD has some risks because it allows man-in-the-middle rather easily, because it's a methodology for querying for your proxy configuration. So if somebody can intercept that and return the packet back, they can quickly do something about getting that man in the middle and configure your web browser to go to that device. Bad thing is most DNS servers are just made to drop it. So when that query happens, you've got to wait for the client to time out, and things like Windows might time out for 10 seconds. So that gives me as an attacker time to intercept that and reply with a crafted packet to tell you to come to my proxy. So if I can see that on the internet and see that you're querying wpad.domain.com, then I know I have machines out there that are at risk, or potentially could know that. Now the hard part is I won't be able to tell those machines, because the queries that are coming in are from another DNS server most often that you've forwarded to somewhere along the way. But it would at least allow me to know, hey, I need to inspect this more. So this is really a problem that you need to get concerned about. So having the access to the intelligence that would actually be available from your external DNS provider, I think would be a pretty powerful thing. And let me give you a couple other topics to talk about. And I'm going to keep this video really short, because it's something that I just really want to put out there to actually just generate more conversation. Would it be good to know if you have a child domain that's being queried? What about if somebody's querying smtp.abc.domain.com? You don't have an abc.com child domain, and it's not listed in your public DNS, but they're querying smtp.abc.domain.com. Is it possible something's happening? If you see a lot of that, is it possible that something's going on and somebody's spoofing your or a child domain of yours to make themselves look more like you? Wouldn't you want to know that info? Could you possibly pass that on to your marketing team or your fraud team, or even onto somebody who's responsible for protecting your brand, right? That becomes important, because those names are often spoofed, and that's how they hide themselves from everybody else and make it kind of look like you. So if I saw a sudden increase of smtp.abc.domain.com, would I worry that there's possibly something happening on from an email perspective? Absolutely. Could I do something with this? Could I create the subdomain to abc.domain.com and then put SPF records and DKIM records and DMARC policies in place to shut that down? Absolutely. This could help me protect my brand, but it also tells me what's happening with my domain, because ultimately abc.domain.com is mine, and I need to protect that. So I might want to know that. So, or when somebody requests a zone transfer, what happens when somebody requests a zone transfer? Is that something you should be concerned about? I would wonder. What about misconfigurations? In one of my previous videos, I showed where that if an application tried to query a name, some applications are misconfigured, and so what happens is they'll query hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times trying to hit a non-existent name. So it might error out that it's going to monkeys.domain.com, but because it got that error, or because it didn't get any response back, depending on how the server works, it might turn around and query lots of times. Are you being charged for those misconfigurations? I want to know that, because if my provider tells me that I've got 50,000 DNS queries a day and they charge me by the query and I'm exceeding their number and I've got to pay more, why isn't it that I shouldn't be able to get that data? We talk about that all the time, that misconfigurations can cause this. What happens when somebody's querying smtp.abc.domain.com? Is that going to be charged more to me because it's a child domain and I own that? I want to know those kind of things, and it gives me additional intelligence about how to protect my domain. And I think DNS providers as a whole are not doing a good job of really providing us information and intelligence that we can use. So yes, I see that they're all out there talking about secure DNS and SDNS or DNSS or whatever it is, and trying to do secure DNS and all these different things that they keep talking about. But at the same time, they should be trying to provide more information about how to protect my domain and how I can watch those things, and the challenges that might be coming up if somebody's spoofing my domain. That's kind of critical to me, and allowing me to make changes about my infrastructure or my brand to protect it. And so I really think a lot of the DNS providers out there are making a mistake. They aren't providing us with this information. If they had something like Extrahop in play where they could read that information off the wire and they could provide us a dashboard that shows us that information, I think it would be fantastic. That's really kind of what I'm shooting for, is that the DNS providers become more active at providing me more intelligence information about what's happening with my public domains. So I think it's important. I know this is a short video. Do I think DNS providers could do more? Absolutely, yes, tons more. Provide intelligence about what is hitting my DNS, what are making queries for it, what are querying child domains. Do I have a lot of queries that are not supposed to be there? Do I have queries that are non-existent? Do I have queries for things because somebody's constantly hitting it, trying to get more information? Could I black hole those things? Absolutely. Do I have misconfigurations? Do I have websites pointing to the wrong DNS name out there that nobody ever thought of? Those things are important to me. What is my performance time? How fast are the returning queries? How fast are those queries going through? Are they ever slow? How many thousands of queries do I have? Do I have enough responses? How many timeout errors for my domain? How many timeouts that actually happen? How many errors? What is erroring out? Why can't DNS service providers provide this information to us? The information is available today. The tools are out there. Why can't they provide this to me about my public DNS? It's my domain name. Should I move my stuff internally and me manage my DNS? I don't know. Might want to think about it. DNS providers absolutely should do more. And I think there's probably more to this conversation. So leave comments. Ask more questions about it. Post a comment. I'd really be interested in seeing what other people think. But I absolutely think they are not doing enough. I think DNS providers are doing a disservice to us today. So appreciate your time. I know this is quick. I know this is short. Please subscribe. Check out my other videos. Check out my blog. The value of wired data is out there. Too much DNS, why wired data, and the Extrahop blog. Those are all things that are available for you to take a look at some of the things I've talked about and just kind of hear my pet peeves. I'm still trying to get more videos done on following what happens when www.google.com is typed in a browser, because I think that's foundational knowledge that you need. I think people need that foundational knowledge and need to be asking more questions about why we aren't seeing some of this data available to us. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Have a great evening.